Okay, on this section of 6.3 of Savitch book C++, I want to talk about character functions. So, like anything else, we have some functions available that we can use. And for the characters, we have some characters that's we have some functions for them to be able to use them in our advantage. To use that, we need the CC type. In CLion, if you don't have a CC type, it does work. But in general, you want to put it in there. So in case you give your program to somebody else and want to compile it and run it somewhere else, then they might not be able to do it. So, and we are still going to be using the namespace std to do this. So for that, what we have some functions available to us. So one of them is toOper. Okay, so it's a function. It is going to take one parameter, which is a character. Remember, we are doing these things for characters, not a string. So we are going to be looking at a character. Now we're going to change that character to uppercase. So I want you to pay attention to this, that the characters are actually stored as numbers, not as a character. That's the way C++ likes to do things, numbers. So when we are calling the upper to upper or to lower, they're the same thing, they are returning a number. So if I do a cout on toOper, then it's going to give me 65 for capital A. Remember, it's going to change the lowercase a, which was 97, to capital A, but it's not returning capital A, it's returning 65. It's returning in a number. So we have to be careful about it. One, if you just say toOper and you don't assign it to anything, nothing is going to happen. You have to assign it to something. Two, when you assign it to something, it can potentially be a number. So now, if I take that number, so A uppercase is going to give me capital A, is going to return 65. When I put that 65 in a character, that 65 is going to change to capital A. Actually, it's storing it as a 65. When I print that one, it's going to give me capital A. We could potentially use the same thing that we learned early on, that was static cast char, that we would take the number and change it to character. I just want to be sure that we understand that these functions are returning numbers, not characters, especially if you put it right into the cout or something like that. So there are some other functions available that we're going to be using, and that is going to start with is, so we can check the character for certain things that we need to know. So if I want to know if it's a space, it's going to tell me if it's a space, it's going to return true or false. So if next is a space, it's going to return true. If it's not a space, it's going to return false. That's the way we're going to check it to see if it's a space. All right, so I want you to pay attention to display 6.9, which is talking about these functions in CC type. We are not going over all of them, but the ones that's important to us for this chapter. So we have toOper and toLower. That's going to take a character and it's going to return its number in an uppercase. And if we assign it to the character, that character is going to be to uppercase of this character. Now, these are the ones that we can use for checking. This is very important, especially for problem number 4. So it's going to check to see if it's uppercase. So if I have a character, I can check it to see if it's uppercase. Again, all of these things are going to return true if the condition is true, or it's going to return false if the condition is not true. So it's going to check for uppercase, it's going to check for lowercase. These are the important part. It's going to check to see if it's alpha. So if it's not alpha, it's not a character alpha, then it's going to return false. And if it is, it's going to return true. So that would be A to Z, lowercase, uppercase. We can check to see if it's digit. So if I'm reading one character, if it's from character 0 to character 9, it's going to return true. That is digit. And I have is space also available. So pay attention to these. We're going to need them to do our projects. So this is the end of this section that has some writing to do. Please do this. We can potentially have this as an activity in the class. So we're going to write a code that will read one line of a text and echo the line with all the uppercase letters deleted. So you're going to check the uppercase, you're going to get a line. It doesn't have to be in a file. It can read it from the keyboard. We can use those functions both from the keyboard and the file. So you read one line of text. You check it to see if it's uppercase. You read one character at a time. Remember, for one line of text, you're going to have that while loop that's checking for \n. So while it's not \n, you're going to read it. And then you're checking for \n. And then inside, if it's not \n, inside the while loop, you're going to check it to see if it is uppercase. If it's not uppercase, you're going to write it. If you write it to the screen, it's going to be see out. Else, you're not going to write it. So if I read an uppercase and I don't write it to a screen, it's going to go. So I'm not deleting it. I'm basically ignoring it. I'm going to read it. I'm not going to write it. So that's a good thinking to have, that if I read something and I don't write it, then that character is going to go away. So 2 methods to detect the end of an input file and describe white spaces. So be sure you do this before we go to the class. Maybe we can talk about this in the class.